We are following the very latest developments in the mass school shooting in Georgia. A short time ago, 14-year-old suspect Colt Gray and his father Colin made their first court appearances in Winder in Georgia. Now, Colt Gray is charged with 4 counts of felony murder. Investigators say he killed 4 people and injured 9 others at his high school using an AR-style rifle. He will be tried as an adult. And authorities allege Colin Gray provided Colt with the AR-style rifle used in Wednesday's mass shooting. He is charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder and 8 counts of cruelty to children. I just want to hear part of what was said in that short appearance, first appearance of the alleged shooter Colt Gray in Georgia just about an hour ago. Remember, it is the nodding blonde head you see in this footage is that of the 14-year-old.
Good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Colt Gray? Sir. My name's Curry Mingledorf. I'm assigned to preside over this morning's proceedings. Mr. Gray, I do need to inquire as to whether you're able to read and write the English language.
Yes, sir.
All right. I also want to inform you, I want to ask you, do you understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney in these proceedings?
Yes, sir.
And you are, in fact, represented today, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Zane Harmon, you're here on behalf of this defendant, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And you understand that you have the right to be continuously represented throughout this proceeding, and if you cannot afford to hire counsel, then this court is obligated under the Constitution to provide counsel for you without cost to you. All right. I am going to inform you of a few other matters, and I'm not going to ask you anything, just inform you. So one is, I want to make sure that you are aware that you have the right to remain silent. You don't have to say anything at all. And it's important to understand that because anything you might say could be used against you at further proceedings associated with your case. I want to inform you of the charges that you currently face. In essence, you are charged with 4 counts of felony murder.
Well, joining me now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Charles Ramsey and our senior national security analyst Juliet Kayyem. Juliet, Charles, let me just start with you. We've heard in court the charges. What happens next for Colt and Colin from a legal standpoint?
Well, the judge has already set another hearing date in December. Where we have to appear before the court and plead to the charges that are placed against him. He'll have an attorney present, but this is the beginning of a process that's going to take place in both these instances. They won't be tried together, they'll be tried separately. Again, we don't know whether or not they're going to opt for a jury trial or they're going to opt for a bench trial, which would mean you would present before a judge. So that's information that we don't have. But there's a second court appearance that's going to take place in early December unless that date changes.
Why is Colt Gray being charged as an adult? He's 14 years old.
Well, the seriousness of the crime. I mean, you're talking about 4 counts of homicide. You're talking about, even though he wasn't charged with it, I don't believe, another 9 counts of aggravated assault for the people that he shot and that he wounded. And again, everything is based on Georgia law because that's where it took place. But he's going to be tried as an adult in this case. The only thing he's not subject to is the death penalty because of his age. But the seriousness of the crimes, and my understanding is that he's cooperated with investigators and actually admitted to the killings. So that's why he's being charged as he is, and that's why he's being tried as an adult.
So what more, given that he's admitted to this crime, and we've seen him in court just in the past hour, what more do investigators have to do in this case? Just walk us through what's going on behind the scenes here.
Well, they'll continue to gather evidence. I'm sure he has a social media footprint. They've gone through that, combed through that, interviewing witnesses, interviewing family, interviewing friends, executing search warrants, which they probably already have, seizing not only documents, but electronic gear such as computers, cell phones, things of that nature. So they're just continuing to gather evidence so that they have a solid case to present for trial. And that's not only with Colt Gray, but also with his father, Colin Gray, because again, he was charged in this particular instance as well. They have apparently solid evidence that they have in order to support the charges that were made against him.
Here, I want to focus on a lot of the new developments in this case. And the major one is that the father has been charged with manslaughter and second-degree murder very quickly. What are the events that led to this arrest and the speed with which it took place?
Probably three key things. First, there was the fact that his son, once taken into custody as the shooter, began talking to police. They say voluntarily. They say after being Mirandized, you have the right to remain silent, and has been cooperating throughout. So a lot of information about where the guns were stored, whether that gun was his, if he had total access to it or partial access to it, certainly enough access to it to leave the house with it concealed, fully loaded, and to, allegedly commit these murders. Part one. Part two, they conducted a search warrant at the house where they would have seen the physical setup of where and how guns were stored, whether or not they were secure, whether the ammunition was stored or secured separately. And at that same time, they had the opportunity to, again, interview the father, who, you'll recall, in the earlier encounter with the Jackson County Sheriff said, well, he does have access to the guns, but they're not loaded. But he wasn't clear on, well, is the ammunition there? Could they be loaded? So that was before he had gifted, allegedly, this child his own gun. All of those elements taken together, if you compare it to the Crumbly case, right, where, the charging of the parents took a long time and a lot of consideration. It was based on, the prosecutor first seeing a social media post and then conducting a longer, complex investigation. This came together very quickly because all the elements were there, almost in plain view.
How big of an issue is it that he was already contacted, the father and the family already contacted the year prior, asking about these ideations from the son? Did that help push this forward much quicker? Because there had already been this interaction with police about this very issue that ended up happening.
So that's going to be a key factor, and Misty will get into this more, but it'll be a key factor at trial, which probably influenced their decision, which is you want to, when you're doing these charges that are about reckless endangerment or reckless disregard, the charging decision is made, would a reasonable person have known that under this set of circumstances that something terrible could have happened, and would a reasonable person have taken steps to prevent that? In the case where you are giving your child a semi-automatic rifle as a gift for his own use, after you've had a visit from the local sheriff who's been tipped by the FBI, who's been tipped by members of the public, that your son's computer is allegedly the origin point for the promise of a school shooting. And remember, one thing is I'm going to shoot up a junior high school like tomorrow, but the other threats or the other things found in that computer is I'm going to do a mass shooting and it's going to be a year or two. I'm not ready yet. Those kind of red flags, which is now a legal term, right, those kind of red flags, when you say, I'm going to wait months after that threat and say, I'm going to give him his own AR-15, would contribute to that idea of, would a reasonable person not know that this could create a clear and present danger to others?